Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing an update on my kinetic carbine one-shot build. It's called kinetic carbine one-shot dash garves. This build focuses on just having insane burst of damage, literal one-shot potential with your kinetic carbine. You can jump in, pretty much one-shot somebody and get out pretty good. You still have all the utility that Paradox brings, and you can do it safely pretty often, right? Really good build. It's really fun to play this way, and we'll go through the items and talk about it. So in lane phase, I like to get just left to right typically. As you can see, I don't really have a an item early. If I'm gonna go for a trophy collector, this gives you 2 out of combat regen, and I feel like that's usually enough. I never feel like I'm necessarily struggling with this character, so I kind of greed and don't do that. But if you really feel like you want one, it's not bad to get like a healing right, an extra regen, something that you just sell later on. Typically I don't feel like I need to. So let's go through it. Mystic Burst is going to be built into Tank Buster. It's pretty obvious. This is going to proc when your kinetic carbine hits, and it's just going to increase the damage overall. And when it becomes a Tank Buster, it is going to do % damage, so it's still going to be good against tanks and stuff. High velocity rounds going to help you with fire rate. It's going to give you bullet velocity, make it even easier to last hit in lane, kind of stay more consistent in lane. Plus, it will be up fresh shot, and we'll go over fresh shot in a second. Mystic Shot, your next bullet deals a bonus spirit damage on an 8-second cooldown. So this will also proc on kinetic carbide shot if it's available. So with the Mystic Burst, with the Mystic Shot, and the kinetic carbide damage, it's pretty good chunk already. And if you notice, kinetic carbide does have a plus 14% headshot bonus. So if you hit their head, it does a slightly more bonus than normal headshot. So it just does a lot of damage. Even just having these couple items, you start having pretty good kill potential. Open wounds, it does give you spirit power, which this scales off of spirit power, plus the movement speed scales off of spirit power. But also it says your attacks have additional weapon damage against enemies above 50%, plus 40%. So 40% damage for $1,600. Kind of insane. It does a ton, and a lot of times, especially when you're starting the fight, you're starting with a kinetic carbide burst. So they're above 50% typically, right? And it's just going to chunk them down like crazy. And honestly, if they're below 50%, you're probably going to kill them, right? You'll probably kill them with everything else. So opening rounds kind of just fits really good with the build. It's a relatively cheap item, and it just works. Express Shot upgrades off of high velocity. After not attacking for 3 seconds, your next attack will fire twice in quick succession with increased damage. It'll do 185% damage, so it's kind of like a double damage, but then it will do a second shot for slightly less than normal damage. This does proc also off of the kinetic carbide. Paradox has a burst gun. On that first shot with the burst, Mystic Shot, Mystic Burst, opening wounds, and fresh shot, you're already doing like, what was that, like over 300-ish damage from one single click. Pretty dang good. And you combine that with your whole combo. You can spirit shielding, gain a barrier whenever you take significant spirit damage from enemy heroes in a small time frame. So one of the weaknesses with this build, and with Paradox just kind of in general, is she's actually a pretty squishy hero relative to a lot of heroes in this game. But this barrier will, if you get chunked down, it'll just give you a bunch of shields. So this kind of helps with the survivability. It helps with a lot of ults. This item, I say you want all of these. If you're going to skip one, skip spirit shielding, and you can just be greedy and go pure damage. However, I feel like it's usually worth getting. So, Tank Buster. It's the upgrade for Mystic Burst. It's just making it stronger. Compressed Cooldown. So since you're kind of building your whole build around kinetic carbine, and kinetic carbine's cooldown before you have the second upgrade where it does minus 8 seconds, it starts out at 30 seconds. So it feels like you have kind of a lot of downtime with your combo, especially if you miss and you're not good at landing it. It can not feel good. So getting compressed cooldown helps out with that, and eventually get it to superior cooldown. And then if the game goes extremely long, you'll upgrade it to Transcend. Anyway, at this point, you're already pretty strong and you feel good. You feel like you can run around and kill people pretty good. But these next couple buys is when you really start to come on, and you feel invincible. Well, Spirit Burn, it gives you ability range, which makes like this bigger, this further, things like that. But the passive, dealing significant spirit damage to an enemy within 5 seconds, causes an explosion, dealing damage and a burn to enemies. While burning, enemies take damage over time and receive reduced healing. So they have minus 70% healing, as you can see down here. So it's a huge healing debuff, basically. The damage threshold is 500. By the time you have all these, your very first shot with the kinetic will proc that. It'll just happen instantly. So effectively, it's making so that the kinetic does an additional 120 guaranteed and a 24 damage per second burn for 8 seconds. So all in all, this is adding like 200, 250-ish. And yes, these do scale with spirit power. So with all the spirit on top, it gets stronger and stronger. This right here is when I will literally, when I say one shot, literally one shot. So that's when it gets really strong. Mystic Reverb, Spirit Lifesteal, makes you have a little bit more tanky. Makes everything kind of heal you a little more. Plus, this is a $400 spirit item, increasing your spirit power even more. Plus, Imbue onto Kinetic Carbine. It says imbue an ability to slow on hit target and deal an additional percentage of damage dealt to the enemies around the target after a short delay. So it kind of, it's a 6-second cooldown, and you shoot them, and then they get like a circle that goes and closes, and when it hits again, it does a little burst of damage around again. So it not only does it slow them 40%, which can help you land the rest of your combo, the paradoxical swap, the pulse grenade, everything. It's just going to do 50% more damage. So whatever you're already doing, just add 50% to it. So yeah, and it feels good. It's AoE. You can just shoot it into team fights. Really good. Makes this even more bursty. Echo Shard. I like to imbue the carbide with this. What I do is I'll pop my kinetic carbide to get the charge going. So I'll pop it, then immediately Echo Shard to refresh the cooldown, even though I still am holding a charge, right? And I can run really fast, and then when I see someone, shoot them, and since it's already refreshed, I can immediately start charging it again. So I can shoot them, and boom, it hits them, it slows them, like stuns them basically. Throw a pulse grenade, drop a time wall, swap them, and then by the time the swap's done, my second one's charged, I can shoot them again if they're not dead. Usually they're dead. Fast Cannon, minus 10% max health. So by the time you have all these items, you usually have like 2300-ish health. So it's basically minus 230 health, have 80% weapon damage, plus a stacking buff. Each hero kill grants permanent fire rate, up to 8 stacks. It says death results in the loss of 1 stack. So if you kill someone and die right after, and that's the only kill, you have 0 stacks. But if you kill 2 people and die, you still keep 1 of the stacks. So, and stacking up to 8 times is effectively 64%. So if you get this fully stacked, you have plus 80% weapon damage and plus 64% fire rate, or minus about 250-ish health. Okay, so you can see down here below where the camera is, have this chart that fills up as you buy more. So not only is it giving you all those stats, it's also upping that. Next, Warpstone. I think Warpstone is a super fun item. I like getting it. I like the playstyle of having it. Being able to blink is really awesome. It allows for a lot more versatility. Plus, it'll help with your investment into the vitality section. Pretty good there. And it's a good item. It's blink dagger basically. So prayer cooldown, you upgrade off of this. It makes all these have shorter cooldown. Plus, it goes from 22 to 25%. It's a good item. Eventually, does upgrade into this. So, and by the way, at this point, a lot of time you just end the game. So this isn't. You don't need to put too much thought into it. But these two, so long range and sharpshooter, if you're not up in their face, comboing people, and you're just sitting back shooting people with this, you can get this a little sooner. Typically, I play pretty aggressive with Paradox, and I like to get up in their face, so I put this clear back here. You basically just make so you can shoot them at a further distance, still do good damage. Situational items. So all of these you can get at any time throughout the game. It isn't something where it's like, oh, after you get down to here, start buying this. And typically, you're not going to buy more than like 1 or 2 of these, unless the game lasts forever, right? But you might get like a siphon bullets, divine barrier, whatever, something, maybe a crippling. But like an example would be if you want to counterspell a specific ability. If you really need a debuff remover and no one else your team barrier, like you want to be that guy, you can come get it. if every person on their team is spirit, you can do spirit or bullet, right? So this is kind of just, these are here to come and get. If you realize, oh, I can get good value off of this, I'm going to skip and grab it. Pretty self-explanatory with all these. The only thing I would say with this section is don't get this early. I would not get a transcendent cooldown before I have both an echo shard and a warp stone, because at that point you really don't have the items to even justify it. You're not like bottlenecked by these cooldowns. Besides that, that's the build. That's the updated build I've been doing for Paradox. It's really fun. Paradox is still one of my favorite heroes. I do like the new heroes, but I got back on Paradox and just fun. I think people don't expect people to be good at Paradox. I don't know why. There's not a lot of people that play Paradox, it seems like. But she's a fun hero. Oh, that's about it. See ya.